Hello, everyone. Welcome. Let me know in the chat box if you're watching. I am doing this live. Welcome if you're watching in the replay as well. So today we're talking about love lists. I've been getting so many questions about love lists on my Facebook groups, and someone in the Magnetism and Miracles Law of Attraction group coaching program recently asked me, now, in which video did you talk about your love list? And so I was telling her I have over 1,300 videos at this time and I can't keep track. But I realized that I don't think I've talked about it on YouTube in one particular video. So this is going to be that ultimate guide to love list. So this is the schedule. Let me know if you guys are watching live. I'd love to have some interaction. Where are you with your love list? Do you have one? Do you think you need one? What's on yours? I would love to hear. So I'm going to start off by sharing my own story on creating my love list and manifesting the love of my life. And then I'll share with you guys my Conscious Couples 2.0 intensive that starts next month in September 2019. Then I'll talk to you guys about why do you need a love list? Who needs a love list? Do you need it if you're married already, right? How to create one and how to become the reciprocal of your love list. And so that's the schedule for today. Hi, Darla, Tanisha, Janine, yay! And I think Dhruv, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. Welcome in, welcome in. I'm so excited. And okay, so we'll get started. So about 11 and a half years ago, I saw someone on Oprah talking about a love list. And it really piqued my interest because of a joke that my mother used to have. Great. So Darla said, yes, I literally had it on my list today to make a love list. We manifested this co-creation. Yay. My mom used to say to my friends, like when she thought they were being too picky with men, I had a couple particular friends that were super picky with, like, if he has ear hair, you know, he's gone. If he's this, he's gone. And so my mom used to have this joke where she would say, bring me a whole bunch of meat and I'll custom make you your man. And so when I heard the concept of the love list on Oprah, and they were talking about how you have to have the qualities that you desire in a partner to manifest it, it kind of reminded me of what my mom would say. So I was like, okay, what the hell? I'm gonna make one. Even though at the time I wasn't really even interested, you know, on a conscious level, like I was the kind of woman that was like, oh, I don't need a man, you know, I'll just do everything on my own kind of thing. But I think subconsciously I knew that this is what I desired. And so it resonated with me, and I sat down and I created a love list with my mom's concept of, we're custom designing this. So you don't have to factor in what you've had in the past, what you deserve, what's possible because of the city that you live in. People come up with all kinds of excuses. So I made the list with, like, if I could have anything, you know, this is what I would want. Not factoring in any of those, like, what ifs or like limiting beliefs. So I create this love list, and then I like fold it and put it away. And then a series of events happened, which I think most of you guys know my story, which led me to create this online profile, right, for on this dating site. And so on the first day that I create the dating site, the way that the site was set up was that they do not approve your pictures for 24 hours. I think they make sure that there's anything inappropriate. And long story short, I met this man that day. My pictures aren't approved, his are, right? And he's been on there for a while. And I see his picture and I'm just like, oh, I know him. And so I'm born and raised in Chicago, right? And so I look at his profile and he's from South Carolina, right? I didn't even know that was a state, right? Who thinks of South Carolina? So I'm like, well, that's weird. He's in South Carolina, but I know him. Like, he's so familiar to me. Long story short, we end up talking. We meet 2 weeks later. He proposes in 2 weeks. So 2 weeks and 1 day. We get married 2 months later. And he is like the exact, it's like I created him from that live list. Like if you look at my love list and you look at my husband, like it's like the universe said, oh, this is what you want. Here you go. And so in October is our 11-year wedding anniversary. And this is why, guys, I think that everyone needs a love list. Because this love list not only manifested my dream guy, but it literally saved my marriage as well through the many ups and downs that we've had. And this is why I require all of my clients, even the married ones, to have a love list. And that's what we're going to dive into today, why I think it's so important. Okay, I'm gonna check in with you guys. I haven't been on live for a while, so this is exciting. So for those of you guys that have kind of been missing out because I haven't been live, we just did our Fire Flow and Fierce Feminine Frequency Intensive in Florida. It was completely out of this world, surreal experience. I feel like a completely changed person from this experience. I just have a newfound respect, honor, love for my work. Again, not that I didn't love it before. You guys know this is my passion, but oh my God, talk about just being broken apart and put back together. Like oh my God, I'm so excited. Sneak peek, January 2020, we're doing a part two. Or no, I shouldn't call it part two because it's a standalone, but it's Fire Flow and Goddess Consciousness Intensive happening here in Houston. So I will more information coming soon. But I'm so excited. I know a lot of you guys that are here live today were there. It was just amazing. Elizabeth said, hi Mina, thank you for coming live. Yesterday night I decided to do a love list. Thank you. Perfect timing. Oh, all divine timing. We're all in the same frequency. Oh my God, I'm so there. Tanisha, you have to be there. You have to be there. And I already have a plan for you and I. Your skincare line, you're doing our goodie bags. Oh my God. Yes, you're there. Yes. Oh, it was so perfect. Yes, Darla. It was amazing meeting all of you guys and just the energy, the vibe. I am still carrying all of your energy, and so I'm in a whole different plane now. Oh my God, I'm this flying high. Okay, so that's my story of why love lists are important, and I'm sticking to it. So let's talk about Conscious Couples 2.0. Conscious Couples Intelligent Love is my really advanced relationship program. It's not your usual strategies and quick tips. This is deep stuff. It's not for the faint of heart. Let me warn you. You will forever be changed from this experience. It's vulnerable, it's raw, it rips your heart literally wide open so that you can be put back together in your authentic nature. You're going to learn skills, energy work, ways of being and showing up in a relationship that are really raw, open, authentic to who we are as human beings. And so this intensive starts next month, September 2019. I'm calling it Conscious Couples 2.0 because you get the original 12 lessons that were presented in the first version, and I'm adding in tons of bonus lessons. You guys know I'm constantly growing, learning, expanding. That's what I'm here to do on this planet, is grow, learn, just be expanding in my consciousness and my learning. And so anything I do next versions of, there's always new stuff to add, new ways of being, new things that you learn. So I'm adding 5 to 6 new bonus classes to this one. If you already took the first Conscious Couples, to upgrade to this is only $97 for you. There is a payment plan. It's a pre-launch price right now. You can access that in the description box. Trust me, you need to be in it. If you think you know anything about relationships, you're going to be really challenged when you come in here, because this is the stuff that literally has changed my life. I'm very passionate about it because this stuff works. The people that have gone through these programs, they're never the same. Their relationships are just higher consciousness evolved. It's husband and boyfriend approved. We've had men that are the partners to the women that take this program, highly approved. I never make any man feel like it's us versus them or that they're going to be judged. It's a very safe place. And all of my work, I always say, is husband and boyfriend approved. So there's no man bashing. There's no We're all in this together. This isn't us versus anyone, right? All right, so that's the conscious couples. There's a payment plan. Check it out. I linked it. Now let's talk about why everyone needs a love list. Let's do this. All right, so everyone needs a love list because most people are approaching relationships and their partners and what they need based on a lot of fear consciousness, right? And my question always is, how do you know that the man of your dreams is sitting in front of you if you don't know, if it's not clearly defined what you want? What if he shows up? What if he's already working with you? What if he's already your friend? What if he's already the friend of a friend and you see him all the time, but you have no idea that he's the one because you didn't take the time to define what the one means to you, right? Like, how do you know? And the love list is a saving grace for marriages. I'll tell you why. Because when I manifested my dream man, and all of a sudden we're married and he's triggering all of my deepest wounds, right? Because that's what conscious relationships do. They bring up all your stuff so you can heal through them. I kept thinking, oh my God, I made a mistake. He's not the one. This is awkward. Like, this is uncomfortable. Why is he making me feel all this way? And it was always the love list that I would refer back to. And I would check the love list and I would look at him and I would know that he is the one, that there's something more here that I need to access and heal through. So if I didn't have that original love list, I would have probably ended up divorced because I wouldn't have realized that he was there as my partner in this journey to higher consciousness, in this journey to healing my past wounds, my past trauma, my inner child. And we were both co-creators in this. We both triggered each other so that our stuff could come up and we could heal through it. But if it wasn't for my love list that I could keep referring back to, I would be really confused. But every time I would look and see that he was a complete match, I knew that I had to stick it out, that I had to work through my stuff, no matter how tough it got. But if I didn't have that, I wouldn't have known, right? I was so triggered our first year of marriage, but I would always think back to all of the qualities I wanted in a man, and he fit every one of them. Bingo, bingo. But what if your love list wasn't clearly defined? We all think what we know what we want, right? Or we depend on chemistry. Worst idea ever. Here's why chemistry is not a reliable factor to know if he is the one. A lot of times our chemistry, our chemical reactions, our emotions that pop up in front of a man are based on the lack of attention that we got in our childhood or lack of worthiness that we may have. So for example, if you think you're not worthy of love because you were neglected in your childhood or you've had a string of bad relationships, you will feel the most chemistry with a man that abandons you and makes you feel less than. Because that your subconscious goes, oh, this is familiar. Bam. Let's get this going. He's going to make me feel so unworthy. He's going to ignore me. He's emotionally unavailable. Yay, he's hot. Because that's familiar for your subconscious, right? We talk about how 95% of our programming, our functioning is subconscious. We don't think about it. So consciously, you can have the best intentions on finding your dream partner and making it work. And your subconscious goes, not today, not today. So you need to know what that means for you. Right? And there's other reasons which I will touch on why your love list is so important. So why do you need it? Because if it's not clearly defined, how do you know if that guy is the one? How do you know? Right? And if he's not the one, you can guilt-free move on saying, well, great guy, but he's not my guy because he doesn't match my list. And so we're going to talk about what to put on the list, because now what happens is people end up putting, he has to be 6'2". And let's say that a man shows up and he fits all your other 99 qualities, but he's 5'10". So we're going to talk about what to put on our love list, because that's important too. So let's talk about who needs a love list. Everyone needs a love list. I don't care if you've been married for 20 years. Have a love list. Because a love list can also be a guide to up leveling. So when we talk about how to become the reciprocal of your love list, a lot of, obviously I was a reciprocal of my love list in a lot of ways. Otherwise, my husband, who showed up as the manifestation of that love list, I wouldn't have been someone he might wanted, because I wasn't his reciprocal. So we'll talk about that. But some of the things that I wanted in a partner, we had to co-create and manifest later. We had to up level to that together. And so even if you're married for 20, 30 years, it becomes a guide of where you're going in a relationship, right? Relationships aren't places where we just come in me to meet all of our needs. They're going to trigger us in a lot of ways, because relationships, at least conscious relationships, are a place of growth. They're a place of up leveling who you are as a human being, right? And you do that together as a partnership. So they are important even when you're married. I would say make one today. And so how do we make a love list? This is an important factor. So I'm drinking my cucumber and mint water recommended by my trainer as I'm back from vacation. I need to detox. Hi, Jasmine. I haven't seen you in a while. Tanisha said, yes, ladies, the fire and flow experience was amazing, so life-changing. Oh, thank you. For me too. For me too. I think for my husband, for my kids, like for everyone, all the ladies, I'm getting so many messages from you guys on how you're behaving, acting, living differently in just this 1 week after the intensive. So I'm just so honored to be a part of this experience. Okay, so how do we create a love list? Let's talk about how not to do it first. Do not create your love list based on limiting beliefs. Based on, well, in my city, we only have this type of man. I hear this so much, and it's so shocking to me, because ladies, we don't need 10,000 men. We just need one right man, right? And so I often get people saying, oh, well, I can't have that because da 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 da, or in my city, we don't have those kind of men. And it's like, is this on the news? Or is this your limiting belief? If this is like a real fact, right? It should be on the news. You know, there should be a warning going on. Ding, ding, ding. Everyone in South, Carolina, pack your bags and grab your children and move out of the city, because officially announcing there is no this type of man in this city. Like, that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. It's a limiting belief. So you have to quit doing that, because that's your limiting belief. Just because you haven't found it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Maybe you haven't become the reciprocal of it yet. So quit doing that. Use my mom's bring me a whole bunch of meat and I will make you any man you desire analogy to give the universe your order without anything barred, right? Like, no, like I want this, but those kind of men only live in New York and I live in California. What the F? Like, that doesn't make any sense. So stop doing that. That doesn't need to be on your love list. Here's an important factor. Use all of your past relationships as a guide, and that's where you're able to let those go and forgive. Because if we keep looking at our past relationships as failures, then we haven't learned the lesson. And if you haven't learned the lesson of that failed relationship, of what you brought in, what that person brought in, and why it failed, then you're going to keep manifesting that in all future relationships because you haven't done any healing. So I used my past as a way to create my love list. It was easier to be like, okay, what didn't work? What really irked me about my past relationships? What was like, oh my God, never doing that again? And as I was creating this love list, I was able to forgive and move on through those relationships because I now realize that those relationships weren't failures. They were there to make me perfect my love list. That was their function in my life, to help me heal through my stuff, to realize what it was that I did want in a relationship so that I can create this perfect love list. And so the love list, do not put what you don't want, right? So you're not going to write, I don't want a cheater, Because when you're looking at that love list, the word cheater is on there. There's an image that forms in your head. There's a frequency that forms from that image. There's a vibration that's sent out, and that's what you show up with, right? You end up with another cheater. So the brain doesn't think in terms of do not, it thinks in terms of images. That's why we say don't think of a pink elephant. Your mind instantly thinks of a pink elephant, even though I said do not. So this is something that I teach my children, that when you say do not, that's a negative. When you have a negative desire, I don't want blah blah blah, like I don't want debt, you're still thinking debt, because the brain thinks in images, it doesn't think in words. So you have to be really mindful of this, right? So what are the kind of things that were on my love list? So I looked at my past relationships, and I looked at the things that didn't work, and so I was able to say, okay, I want someone that's really trustworthy. Now, let's talk about the other factor. What's the reciprocal of trustworthy? So let's talk about reciprocal, and then we'll go back and forth. So I had a friend when I was a teenager. I met her, and she was quite older than me, I think 8-9 years older than I was. And we were friends for a good 14 years. And since the moment that I met her, right, for that 14-year friendship, she had one goal and one goal only in life, and that was to get married. And throughout that 14-year friendship, I saw maybe 200 eligible bachelors come in and out of her life that she really quickly rejected because she was waiting for the one. And a lot of these men, most of them were really good guys that would have been really good reciprocals for her. But here's her problem. She had this list of ideals that she wanted, not necessarily written down, but in her head. He had to be a doctor. He had to be earning a certain amount of money. He had to be this, 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 and this. But here was the missing key. She wasn't the reciprocal of any of those things. So she had dropped out of school when she was young. And so, right, she had a certain lifestyle. She had a certain way of being. And so one day I was really frustrated with her. I've shared this story with you guys before. Super frustrated with her because I see these really amazing guys that love her, adore her, come into her life, and she keeps rejecting them, right? For stupid reasons. And so I was really frustrated, and she's talking about how all men are this and that, and she'll never find anyone, and she's so depressed, and she needs to find a guy. And so I said to her, really frustrated, I'm like, have you considered that the man that you're looking for has something that he's looking for too? And she was like, what do you mean? And I'm like, this doctor, isn't he going to have a list of qualities that he wants in a wife? Are you that person? And I think she got offended, probably, rightly so. But I was frustrated, and I said this, but it really resonated with me. I think I said it to myself, because years later, this came in really handy when I was making that love list. So when I made that love list, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, oh my God, this is good. This is good. Good stuff on there. But then I'm like, okay, let me imagine that this guy shows up and he's standing there and he is exactly that love list. Does he want me? Right? Does he want me? Because here's the thing. Someone who's trustworthy, that was the first thing on my list, needs someone that's trusting. Because it doesn't matter how trustworthy he is. If I am a suspicious person, I'm not going to trust him. So we're not going to be a good match, are we? Right? If I'm asking for a certain level of intellect, he's going to expect a certain level of being from me, right? So if I'm wanting someone that's really giving, that was on my list, I want someone that's super giving. Am I someone that's open to receiving? Or am I going to block that receiving every time and one up him, or give it right back, or not even be able to receive what he has to offer? So that is what I mean when I say you have to become the reciprocal of your list. Because at the end of the day, this isn't some magic thing. When that guy shows up, are you ready to receive him because you are his reciprocal? So in some ways, this list also becomes something that you are up-leveling yourself for, right? Let me know in the chat if this is making sense for you. Right? So let's say that you want a masculine partner who has great leadership skills. Well, what if you're also in your masculine and leading him? Right? Something Irfan said that the Fire and Flow Intensive was that at any one given point, can also only be one leader. There can only be one masculine partner. Sometimes you beat Bob, right? Sometimes you're leading in certain things and he is. That's perfectly okay in a conscious relationship. But you have to consider that if you are in your masculine and you're leading all the time and you're wondering why your masculine partner is not showing up, it's because you're the masculine partner in the relationship. So you have to be willing to be the reciprocal, right? You have to be the reciprocal of whatever it is that you're asking for. The man that you are looking for, don't you think he has a list too of what he is looking for? I had to face this reality and start self-investment to even think of looking again. Priceless question. Yes. And it came out of a frustration with my friend, but it literally changed my life because I've always questioned this about myself. Every time I have a thought of what my partner is not doing, of what he's not providing, how he's coming short, I changed the question and I said, am I being the reciprocal of that? What am I not providing for him? And I've shared this in the Conscious Couples in the 1.0. I asked my husband after years of marriage some really deep questions, and I was really scared to receive the answers, and it was mortifying and very vulnerable to sit there as he told me the truth. And it dawned on me that for most of my marriage, I was so concerned about what I wanted, my needs, that I forgot that there was another person in the relationship and he had needs that weren't being met as well. Right? And so I was more just concerned about my needs. And I think when we're in fear consciousness, we tend to come up that way in relationships, right? What about the other person's needs? What about becoming the reciprocal of what you want? Yes, this makes perfect sense. Aha moment. Yes, awesome. Good question. Okay. There's no name calling, there's no labeling. I don't allow that type of stuff in any of my programs, my free content, and I don't allow any women bashing, male bashing. So I just deleted a comment in there. Rest assured that you will be blocked the next time you do anything like that. I have no tolerance for. I am pro-human. I'm pro-humanity. I'm pro every size, shape, color. So I don't play those games. So like, stop it. Cut it out. So any questions coming up for you guys? We talked about the why. Everyone needs a love list because we need a direction. If it's not clearly defined, then we don't know if it shows up. Love could be hitting you in the forehead and you might not know it because it's not clearly defined for you, right? Who needs a love list? Everyone. Even if you're married, wouldn't it be nice to have one? And then when you're having those kind of roller coasters, sometimes marriage has its dips and downs. Every relationship does, even in dating. You could go back to that and say, wait a minute, no, he's the match. I'm in my fear consciousness right now. I'm having a little moment, and you need that. You need that to wake up to that. Okay? How to make a love list? So we can dive in a little bit deeper in that. So when we talk about something, right? A quality. Are you the reciprocal of that? So let's talk about, I actually had made a post in my Facebook group this morning asking everyone to list 3 qualities that they're looking for in a mate on their love list. What's 3 qualities on their love list? So let me go back to that and I will read them and talk about what could be the reciprocal of that. So this might help us. So here we go. Here's the post. That's weird. Why can't I find it? Okay, so the question was, what 3 qualities are on your love list? And so let's talk about this. Funny, kind, and faithful. Okay, funny, kind, and faithful. Will someone write that down in the chat box? So if he's funny, you know what crushes a man's funny bone real quick? A partner that won't laugh at his jokes. And I'm guilty of that. I did that in the beginning. When my husband would crack a joke, I wouldn't laugh. I would be like, oh, that's stupid. That's not funny. And so then guess what happened? He stopped being funny. So the reciprocal of wanting a man that's funny is a woman that can take a joke, that can laugh, that's lighthearted, that's playful. Okay? Thank you, Tanisha. Makes sense, right? So he could be the funniest guy, and then you can't reciprocate that, and so he's making jokes at work or with his family and friends because you can't take it. Crushes that, right? Kind. If he's kind, guess what the reciprocal of kind would be? Would also be kind, right? Because if he's kind and you get really easily triggered and you say things that you don't mean and you're unkind and ungraceful in your communication, you're going to downgrade his consciousness. He's going to be protecting and providing for himself from you. Right? So a man has a natural tendency to want to protect and provide. A lot of women end up turning that upside down where they trigger him so much that he ends up protecting and providing for himself from you. That's literally using his natural gifts and making them work against you. Happens all the time. I know I'm guilty of this in my relationship. And so these were some really deep inner work and inner reflection and awareness and healing that I've had to do in my relationship. Faithful. If you're wanting a faithful man, you're going to have a level of trust in your relationship. Because I have seen many relationships, I work with couples where the man is completely faithful, but because something happened to the woman in her past, she can't trust him. So she's going through his phone, she's going through his email, and there comes a time where the man goes, I might as well cheat because she's treating me like I'm already doing it. She second guesses everything I do. She goes through my email. She checks my phone. I can't talk to anyone before she runs in there and accuses me of cheating. I might as well do it. Like it's like you can't trust him. So he could be the most faithful person, but not to you, because you created this demon in your own mind that you need to heal through. So that's how we become the reciprocal. Any other qualities that you guys are thinking of, write them right now. I get a lot of questions about this stuff. Okay, so let's take another one. Provider, family-oriented, generous. So someone please write that down for me. Provider, family-oriented, and generous. If he is the provider, can you surrender to his providing? And sometimes what that means, I know that when I was a stay-at-home mom, before I started my business and all this, sometimes my husband would say, no, we can't buy that. Right? Now, if I can't accept that sometimes we have to have budgets or we can't buy everything that we want because we have other goals, then I'm not reciprocal to his providing. So that's hard to hear, right? Sometimes we want a provider, but we get to control everything that he provides. Well, you need to be able to surrender to his providing. That's how you become the reciprocal to that. Good, thank you, Whitney. Family oriented. This was an ouch one for me. Can I be really, really vulnerable for a second? So that was on my love list, family oriented, and my husband definitely is that. But you know what he taught me throughout the years? And this was I'm feeling like really vulnerable even sharing this, that I wasn't family oriented. Yikes. My husband has taught me how to be the reciprocal of that. I have to also be family oriented, right? When he wanted to do really family oriented things, this is really difficult for me to admit, I would get annoyed. I would be annoyed. I'd be like, why does he want me to like be in the kitchen when he's cooking? So annoying. Just cook and I'll just come and eat. Oh, that's so icky, right? And I had to admit that. I apologized to him. I admitted it, right? Here I am writing on my love list that I want someone that's family oriented. And I didn't know how to be family oriented because my family, I mean, they did the best they could, but we didn't have a lot of what I wanted. And so because we didn't have it, I had no model of it. And so when my husband was providing it, doing that, being that which I wanted, I didn't know how to be the reciprocal of it. So I had to learn. He taught me that, to have patience. Being family oriented means sometimes being really patient. Sometimes being in situations that are uncomfortable and being okay with that. And oh, so that was a difficult one. That's a hard one for me to admit. I had to really learn that. That took some up leveling, some elevating my own consciousness. So you see how it works? Are you the reciprocal of that? And it's okay to have a love list where you're not the 100% reciprocal, because some of that you're going to have to learn, but at least you know that that's right. So for example, if your love list says, I want someone that's really patient, and you're someone that's really impatient, you're not the reciprocal of that. So he may teach you, he may become that holder of that container to up level you, but now you know, okay, I'm wanting this, so I really need to work on this myself. And that can be something you do together. Generous. Okay, well, here's the thing with generous men. Generous men are often generous with everyone. I had to learn that too, that I want someone that's really generous and giving. Well, then am I going to feel triggered when he's really generous and giving to his family, to his friends, to the community? Because if I'm going to get triggered from that, then I'm not the reciprocal to his generosity. Or am I saying I just want him to be generous with me, right? So you have to get really clear with this, because oftentimes it's like that quality in him is going to be expanding in all other ways and directions. Can you be okay with that? I would be the reciprocal to kind, but I will have to work on the reciprocal to funny, as I swear, and I am way too sensitive and emotional when I am with someone. See, so now we're asking the right questions and looking at the right qualities. So now that love list has a direction. A love list is something that's a breathing, alive entity, because oftentimes I will have people, for example, when my clients make love lists and they start dating and they realize that there's certain things that now they're triggered by, or something that they learn, I say, okay, go back to your love list and let's modify it. It's a learning experience. If you've had a lot of failed relationships and you see certain patterns, okay, that the right quality of that needs to be on your love list. So think of it as a living, breathing, evolving entity or thing, right? What would be the reciprocal of conscious? Conscious yourself, self-aware, present. Here's the real big problem with. Okay, so let me answer that by sharing my own thing. I think I shared this in the Fire and Flow. For years, I thought that that I was more aware and conscious than my husband was in the early years of our marriage. It turned out he was way ahead of me, and patiently waiting for me to catch up, holding that container of inner work and safety for me to grow and catch up. And the problem is that when you think, in order to recognize consciousness, you need presence. You need to be in the moment. So to realize a lot of things that would be considered consciousness or self-awareness, right? So in my lower consciousness, I was missing all of the ways in which he was really conscious, in the ways that he would let go of inappropriate things that I said, little tantrums that I had. He would let that slide, let that go in a very kind of evolved, conscious way. And I would see that as he's withdrawn, or he's emotionally unavailable. He was available. He was letting something slide and giving me feedback for me to, he was kind of seeing me as the next level version of me where I wasn't even there yet. So the reciprocal of consciousness, I would say, is presence, is also consciousness, is self-awareness, being able to see that. Okay. What would be the reciprocal of responsible? I am naturally the responsible one, but that sometimes keeps him from stepping up. So the masculine is about conserving energy, and the masculine partner is about harmonizing the relationship. So if you can't let go of the ball, if you can't let go of the control, if you can always step in, he is going to step back, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. He's harmonizing. He's conserving energy. Two people, men respect other masculine partners, other masculine leaders, and they step back, they step down. It's part of their conserving energy kind of evolution. So if you're showing up masculine, he's going to step down. and he's making space for your masculine. So the reciprocal of responsible is leaning back, right? So I can relate to this because my husband and I are very similar. Our masculine is very cultivated and similar. And so, one of the things that I've had to learn to do is lean back and let go of that side of me, the masculine side of me, and just trust that Irfan's got it covered, right? So, for example, I've talked about this time management. We're both on point. In our 11 years together, almost 11 years, well, actually 11 years, yeah, we met in end of July, so 11 years together. We've never been late anywhere. In fact, we always arrive 40, 50 minutes early. My children have never been late to school, not even once. Like, we are on point. So because I know this, I know that both of us don't need to be managing that in our household. So I can be completely timeless, and I know he's got it covered. So you have to drop the ball. If you want him to step up, let him know that you're leaning back, you know. And sometimes it's a conversation. Most of the time it's just doing it, leaning back. I believe that my husband is conscious. I am getting there. So this is the great beauty of a conscious relationship. And by the way, I know your husband, so yes, he is a very conscious man, and I think you are too. So the interesting thing with conscious couples is that we hold that container for each other, we elevate each other, and there's always these points where, so there's like 3 points that I've noticed in every relationship that I've coached and in my own, is that there's going to be times where he's ahead of you and he's waiting very patiently, holding that container for you to catch up, and you up level yourself to him, and then you might be both at the same level for a while, and then you might get ahead of him for a while, right? And then he catches up, and it's this beautiful dance of growth and expansion. And oftentimes people see that as a negative. So I have had clients where they were really mismatched, caught up through the coaching, through the work, through the inner work, and they're here for a while, and then one of them gets ahead, and then they think, oh my God, something's wrong. We're having conflict again, or, you know, he's withdrawing, or we're not romantic anymore. And I'm like, hold on. It's a part of the process. Someone's up-leveled a little bit ahead. They're waiting for you to catch up. So you haven't gone back unless you say you've gone back. You up-leveled to that level. And so there's an evolution to a conscious relationship, and you have to let that play out. You have to honor that. And Irfan talked about that in the fire and flow, right? It's the change that brings in happiness. The happiest person on the planet, if he's here all the time, that becomes his emotional set point, and he starts feeling like something's lacking, or he gets bored. So then he needs to come here for a while and then go back up to feel, oh, I'm happy, right? That's that gratitude. That's that, we call it kind of the happiness roller coaster. And you need a little bit of a dip sometimes, because when you elevate yourself from that, you feel that, oh my God, I'm so happy. I'm so grateful. So, you are holding that, you know, safety. I'll share something else vulnerable with you guys, that helped me realize that, oh my God, he's so much more evolved consciously than I am. And I was thinking I'm doing something great. Darla said, yes, thank you. I had a mind block with that one, so I keep forgetting. And it takes, you know, I've talked about before where there is cellular and muscular memory of your old habits. And so this is something that I've experienced, and I've shared this in my Sacred Feminine. We talked about that in there. There is a point where you hear something, you learn something new, and your consciousness is awakened, right? You're self-aware. But you have a whole old way of behaving and relating, and you have muscular, cellular memory of that. And so I talk about how I've had in my own relationship where I'm aware of something and I'm like, oh my God, I always do that thing. I'm not going to do that thing anymore. I'm so not going to do that. And then I'm in front of my partner and I feel like doing that thing. And there's a part of me that's like, no, Mina, don't say it, don't do it. And I will watch myself doing that thing, saying that thing. And I'm just like, oh my God, why did you do it? Because my consciousness and my awareness is awakened to it. That's why I was able to catch myself doing it and watch myself doing it. but the muscular and cellular habitual nature is still there. You know, I hate using this example, but you know, like some certain insects, like if they get their head cut off, they're still moving because they still have muscular cellular movement, right? Like that memory of it, and then they die eventually. That's that habit in you. And so I tell my clients, allow yourself the grace of making that mistake a couple more times. But if you're in that position where you're watching yourself, your consciousness is watching yourself make that mistake, you're on the right track. I've had this happen so many times where I'm just like, oh, I told you not to do it and you did it anyways, right? Because it was still that memory. So you have to just be really forgiving. Afterwards, I'll have like a little pep talk with myself and say, I saw you doing it, told you not to, you did it anyways. Next time we'll actually stop. Next time we'll stop before we do it, right? And so let that be a natural flow and process. Yes, I remember that from the intensive now. Whitney said, yes, we talked about that in there. Thank you, Khadija. She said, amazing stuff, Mina. Um, how long did it take you to step back out of your masculinity, and was it hard to get into your femininity? It was a process. So let me answer this question by saying I had 30 years, 30 some years of being really in balance, meaning really in my masculine, really, really in my masculine, right? So you think it's gonna take 3 days to be like, oh, I got this. Okay, feminine, got it. On, right? It's like, no, it's gonna take time. And so it was a learning process. It was a process, so it's very hard to say, because when people say how long did it take you, they're expecting me to say 2 years, light switch went on. But it's a process. Week 1, there was process. Week 2, there was progress, right? Week 3, there was a little bit more progress. A year in, I was like, oh my God, I get this like 70% of the time. But there's still triggers, there's still stuff. So I'm still working at it, really, because it's always this evolution and this work in progress. Oftentimes we think enlightenment or inner work is this thing that we arrive at and then you get, congratulations, here's your certificate, you are officially enlightened. But enlightenment means being enlightened in that moment with that particular thing in front of you. So I can be a very enlightened person in 3 things, and like bam, someone triggers me in this 4th thing that I am totally unconscious in. And now it's been brought to my attention, and now I can heal through it, work through it. And so it's a process. Some people we're naturally born in our natural state of femininity. That's who we are, right? So only about 10% of women are born dominant masculine naturally. Everyone else learns it through, sorry, my lighting system. Everyone else learns it through culture, society, wounds, things that triggered us out of it. So it's a process. It's not an on-off switch. I've had worked with clients that got it a lot faster than it took me. And then I worked with clients that it's taken them a couple of years. So you need to do it for the right reasons. If you're focused on time, you're in your masculine. If you're focused on outcome, you're in your masculine. So you can't be doing feminine energy or femininity from the masculine of how long will it take me? What am I going to get afterwards? That's a very masculine way of looking at things. Darla said, thank you for sharing that. Yes, I'm like, whatever you do, don't say that, and then I say it. Your consciousness has arrived, it's awakened, but your muscle memory is still there. There's that rebellious ego self going, watch me do it. Yes. Okay. So let's see. Any other questions about love list? So guys, if you guys want to really do this inner work and join me for the Conscious Couples 2.0 intensive, because there's a process to this. There's levels of inner work that we do in there, and I'll answer some more questions, but I'm going to throw that link. There is a payment plan. This is a no-brainer, guys. It's a 3-month intensive, and then you get 6 months of support afterwards. So join me there. This is the kind of conversations we have in there all the time. Deep stuff. Um, okay. So, Rocky said, I'm catching late. If you don't answer already, I have a question. How do I desire some quality without feeling ashamed of not accepting him as he is? So, as people are, is forever changing and evolving. So, who he is right now is the mirror of who you are. And so, when you up level, when you have a list, when you're becoming the reciprocal, he constantly up levels. So, when you're saying that you're dishonoring who he is, or and feeling bad about that, you're pigeonholing him. You're saying that he's just this one-dimensional kind of being, but human beings are not one-dimensional, right? We have all these facets, all these possibilities. This is why the same man will behave one way with one woman and another way with another woman and another way, because that woman is bringing something that he's now becoming the reciprocal of, even in one little situation and transaction, right? So when you become more conscious as a human being, you become more evolved in your consciousness. We talk about the basic babe, self-aware Barbie, $1 million babe and high-end divinity. The way men treat me now, all men, not just my husband and my sons, all men. I mean, we were traveling, men give up seats for me. They give up their spots. Their spots in line. They're willing to do anything, right? Anything and everything to please a woman that's in her femininity and in her higher consciousness, because that's what she brings out. So the first step is, anything you're feeling, if you're feeling ashamed, you've got shame in you, and that needs to be released, that needs to be worked through. And so if you cannot dream big, anything that the masculine provides is only to the ability that the feminine desires. So I'm actually going to do a joint video with one of my friends, Mina, on this topic with you guys soon. We were talking about this yesterday on the phone, that a lot of women will not desire things because they think their men cannot provide. So they limit their desire. But the problem is that their desire is what calls forth the masculine providing. So I had this one friend, she was the mother of my son's friend. So she would constantly say, my husband will never make more than $2,000 a month. That's all he's capable of making. He can only make two. Oh, my life, this, my husband. And so guess what? Her husband only made 2,000. But what if she put on her love list all of these desires and the ways of being that in abundance? Somehow her husband would be able to manifest more. And so we were talking about this with her yesterday, because she'll share her story, but something exactly like that happened. But most of us base our desires on our current reality. So when you're making your love list, you have to go bigger than your current circumstances. You have to go bigger than your culture. You have to go bigger than your state that you live in or country that you live in, and trust in the divine that it can be up-leveled and manifested. So there is unlimited resources in the universe. Your desire calls it forth into manifestation. So if I'm sitting here and going, I want $100,000, but my husband's only capable of making 70, so I guess I just have to put 70. I just trapped him in making 70, because that's what I'm seeing him as. I have so many real life examples in my life of men that are highly capable, successful, amazing. And the women can't desire and dream outside of their limitation, and their men downgrade, or they get okay or settled, because it's the female desire that calls forth manifestation. But if you don't know how to desire, you keep saying, I don't want this, this sucks, he can never do this, that's what you're gonna get. So I actually have a story of a family member. I won't say who it is. I know a lot of my family watches my videos, so I won't say who it is. But I have a story of a family member that was married into one of the richest families in their city. This family was really, really well known. They produced a very key ingredient that's needed in all food stuff in that country. Okay, so really wealthy, really well-known family. I mean, wealthy you cannot imagine, like super wealthy, okay? Servants, I mean, just private planes, everything. And so this family member, super gorgeous, just a beauty. And so this the let's call him a prince. I mean, he's wealthy, he's successful, good-looking guy, nice guy. Falls in love with her, and she gets married into this family. But this woman is from really fear consciousness, scarcity consciousness, because that's her family, right? This is my extended family. And so they're kind of a really poor family. And so there's also always lack, always we're not going to have enough. Always, how can we hoard? How can we keep, because there isn't enough. So she gets married into this family. She's the love of his life. They're such a good looking couple. I mean, just, like the stuff that royalty is made out of. And that family keeps all their wealth, and somehow, I don't even know the true story of how it happened, but I was just like, ooh. Somehow that son gets in himself disowned from that family's wealth, and they live their life, their entire life in extreme poverty. Extreme poverty you cannot imagine. But this man, super successful, has education that's the best education available in that country. Super good looking, super smart, super generous, super loving, family guy, loyal, like everything. My uncle, right? Everything. Ends up living his entire life out in poverty because that woman that he married had a very poverty consciousness. She could not accept that wealth. And somehow, I'm not saying it's her fault, but somehow that's what was her emotional set point of wealth. This is why lottery winners, that some 90% of lottery winners end up broker than they were before they found the money, before they got the money, the lottery winnings, because their consciousness has not up-leveled to that kind of money. Their scarcity mindset takes them right back down. So if you don't know how to desire properly, quit blaming him. Quit blaming him. Your desire limits the masculine. So you can marry anyone. I mean, really, if you've done this work and he fits all of your rest of your love list and the money part hasn't manifested or a couple other things, you can up level him from your desire, from your wanting, from your believing in him. That's why they say behind every great man, there's a woman, right? Where do you think that saying comes from? There's a woman with a desire. And that's what the masculine is providing. This is so good. I'm so glad. Yes. Thank you for taking the time to do these live chats. I got it. Okay, awesome, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I'll see you guys in the contest couples. So the early bird pricing and the payment plan will go away soon, ladies. So grab this if you want to learn more about this stuff, know how to embody it, know how to make it your normal way of being. You need to be in there. I love you guys so much. I'll see you in the next one.